Chapter 84, Colleagues 1. At that moment, the setting sun was approaching dusk. The afterglow scattered on the mountain path and gradually dimmed. Xu Qing carried the brocade box on his back and looked at the sky. His mind recalled the words of the round-faced cultivator, and his understanding of the seven blood eyes became clear. He knew that this main city looked orderly, but in reality, it hid tremendous dangers. This was especially so at night, where the malice from all directions was even more intense. There would always be people who chose to bare their fangs to others to better survive. There was no right or wrong in this. However, Xu Qing didn't wish to become nourishment for others to better survive. Hence, he touched the brocade box on his back and prepared to find a dark place to store it in his storage bag without anyone noticing. Hence, he quickened his pace. Not long later, he descended the mountain path and saw two figures who had changed into gray Taoist robes at the foot of the mountain. The man and woman were Xu Qing and Xu Xiaohui. Xu Xiaohui had a beautiful appearance. Although the gray robe hid her graceful figure, regardless of whether it was her chest or the slight bulge on her butt, it made the gray robe give her an additional seductive charm. As for Xu Qing, he was handsome to begin with. At that moment, with his gray Taoist robe on, he looked very elegant, causing Xu Xiaohui's gaze to turn blurry. She just didn't know if it was Xu Qing or his magic boat that she was in a daze about. Seeing Xu Qing's figure appear, Xu Qing laughed and walked toward him. "Xu Qing, you're finally down. I've been waiting for you for a while." Xu Qing's expression was as usual, but his heart was filled with vigilance. He didn't get close and only lifted his head to look at Xu Qing's neck from 70 to 80 feet away. His right hand casually rested beside the pocket where the black iron stick was hidden. "We are all disciples of the seventh peak and entered the sect in the same batch. Moreover, we aren't very familiar with each other in the sect, so I think we should get closer. This way, if anything happens in the future, I'll have one more friend and one more connection." Xu Qing's attitude was sincere as he cupped his fists at Xu Qing. When Xu Qing heard this, his vigilance didn't decrease. However, he felt that what the other party said made sense, so he nodded. The smile on Xu Qing's face was still the same, and he simply said a few words. He saw that Xu Qing didn't like to speak, so he exchanged communications information from afar before bidding farewell and leaving with Xu Xiaohui. Looking at their departing figures, Xu Qing lowered his head and looked at the identity token in his hand. The communication information that the other party had exchanged earlier was using this token as a medium. "I can speak with this," Xu Qing curiously sized it up. As the spirit energy in his body gushed in, the information within the token instantly appeared in his mind. This made him feel very strange, so he continued to study as he moved forward. When he entered the city, he found a corner and placed the brocade box on his back into his storage bag. He didn't change into a gray Taoist robe. He was still wearing that dirty leather coat. If it was during the day, his scavenger attire would be very eye-catching in this clean and tidy main city. However, it was nighttime now, so it was more convenient for him to hide. At the same time, he felt that this attire could also avoid some troubles that he couldn't resolve. After all, most scavengers were very poor. Those who could target him naturally wouldn't be experts, so he could handle them. At the same time, he also studied the effects of the identity token and knew how to transmit his voice. He also saw the information about the department he was in. The homicide department, Xu Qing mumbled, although he didn't understand the functions of the department. He could guess a thing or two from its name. This department seemed very savage and dangerous. As for the registration time, the information stated that it would be tomorrow. At the same time, in this identity token, there was also the location of his small boat. For disciples who owned a magic boat, the sect would allocate their own berths and give them a month's rent-free period. After a month, they would have to pay a fee. The price was 30,000 contribution points per month, which was 30 spirit stones. If they didn't pay, their berths would be automatically cancelled. The 79th port, Xuanno, 33. Xu Qing lifted his head and looked in the direction of the sea. His figure flashed in the darkness as he moved forward rapidly with deep vigilance, trying his best not to reveal his tracks. Just like that, time flowed by. Very soon, dusk was far away and night fell. Thousands of households in the city closed their doors one after another. The commotion during the day turned into silence at this moment. The darkness of the night also completely concealed Xu Qing's figure. He slowly narrowed his eyes and quickened his pace. Gradually, he noticed the ferocity of the night in this dark city. He saw slaughter, he saw people fleeing for their lives, he saw the coldness in the pursuit, and he also saw robbery. Regarding this, Xu Qing, who was hiding in the dark, merely swept his gaze over before retracting it. He didn't participate and continued on his way. In the darkness, his figure was like a ghost. Other than that, he also saw some casinos. At the railings, the lights were brightly lit, revealing the prosperity on the other side of the city. Perhaps it was because Xu Qing was even more cautious and stealthy this time around. He didn't encounter anyone who attacked him on the way. However, occasionally, he could still feel gazes from the darkness that contained coldness and malice. However, after noticing his scavenger attire, most of them ignored him as though he didn't exist. Xu Qing fell silent and sped away. After another 2 hours, he was getting closer and closer to the harbor. There were over 100 ports here, and the place Xu Qing wanted to go was the 79th port in the purple zone. However, just as he was searching, Xu Qing's expression suddenly changed. He hid at the entrance of an alley and looked ahead. Waves of footsteps and whistling sounds rang out from afar. Very soon, Xu Qing saw a group of gray-robed cultivators. Each of them had a murderous look on their face, and their bodies emitted a cold aura as they sped over.